listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast, live every single Tuesday night on all your favorite social media networks. And don't forget to download the audio podcast version available at midnight on Thursday. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian, and Keith Cheatham. Are y'all ready
for the debate?
Debate night in America. No, we're not doing that here.
Yeah.
We're not doing that here. Everybody's on pins and needles watching that right now. No, they're not. They're watching us.
Yeah, everybody's watching us.
I can guarantee.
I mean, what do you want to... Really?
We are going to have more viewers than some other rando covering the debate tonight. I don't know about that. I actually can't even guarantee that. But you know what? We're here for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
And that could be entertaining. I will definitely be checking
to try
it out
to entertain
throughout the night.
Yes.
I mean, we'll not during the show. I would never do that. I got to focus on the show.
I want a smaller chair than
Sean
you guys.
agrees.
Moving forward.
Sean's already checking it out.
He's
It's not started yet.
It's not. Of course not.
I just want to make a request. Moving forward, I would like my chair to be half the size of your all's chair.
Oh, really?
Yes, because
maybe.
I want to look bigger. I mean, I already am bigger than you all, but I want to really look bigger.
I was just scrolling through X, and of course, Rev Ray.
Yeah.
It says, who's winning the debate
I
tonight,
said
Kamala
that-
Harris or I'm a racist?
Yeah. I said that in the group.
Oh,
Yeah.
it just showed up 17 minutes ago.
No, he just sent the text like right before the show, though.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
He sent it in the group thread, like just
It's
before the
funny.
show.
We follow the same people on Twitter.
We do.
Or
It's
X,
funny because there
sorry.
are times where we share like movie news, but also just funny posts. And I'm like, I always think not, I've seen that already. My immediate thought is, I wonder if that popped up in your feed because I liked it or vice versa.
Well, they all know. Well, they've already admitted
Because-
that the microphones listen to us too.
Yeah,
That's true.
Despite saying that they promised
No.
they never did.
But they do.
I knew they did. Remember when we talked about how with
Yes.
TVs and crap, and then all of a sudden it'd pop up?
Yeah.
And I was the
That's
one
insane,
that I was not drinking the Kool-Aid, and I should have been. Because it
Said-
turns out the Kool-Aid's been poisoned
That's
the whole
right.
time.
That's right.
Okay?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
like every time you mention something, I'll be like, the next day, I'll be like, there it is.
No, every time I swear, every day there's like a new tweet that's just like, it's another day of another conspiracy being proven right.
Yeah.
It's like, how many now do we have to go through that, have been just, it just happened to take a year or two before the truth finally came out. But actually,
my favorite instance of that so far has literally been my wife, and this is not too much information, but we're in the bathroom and she's taking a bath and I'm sitting in the bathroom talking to her, and we're thinking about where we're going to go for our 20th anniversary, like what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I literally just say, like, it'd be pretty cool if we could take a trip to Iceland. Like, that's somewhere we've both just dreamt of going. Like, let's start saving money and let's do that for our 20th anniversary. And then minutes later, I get on my phone, and in my Facebook feed is Airbnbs in Iceland. And my phone was nowhere near me.
Yeah.
Like, it heard me from across the house. And
It's
we don't
always
have
listening.
we don't have an Alexa in our bathroom.
I say
or
anything
nothing
you
like
got
that.
connected,
It's like,
whether it's Alexa.
I don't
or-
know where it heard it, but it heard it somewhere and was already selling me on Iceland.
Did you have an
That's it.
Apple Watch on at the time? Maybe the watch is
Could have
listening
been.
too.
No, I didn't. I had
Alexa, is Alexa in the house? I probably just
Well, he
fired
said
off
not.
somebody's.
No.
Alexa's
We do have those, but they're not anywhere near our bathroom.
And even though they give you the safety feature of being able to turn off
I don't
the
even
mic,
trust that.
and you have the red light that's like, hey,
Yeah.
we're not listening.
Yeah.
BS. BS.
They're still listening.
like,
There's
I'll
probably
listen to you.
somewhere in the terms and conditions and fine print when you set it up that's like, we're not listening unless you say these keywords. And then like have it all listed as
Yeah.
very subliminal, like, oh yeah. If you mention this, we're definitely turning the mic on.
Yeah.
All right, I hope I hit the right one, but we haven't done this in a while.
I don't even
think
know what
this
we're
is the
doing.
right one.
Oh, God.
Maybe this is. a somber day.
Oh, yes.
And I had to, we used to only play this piece of music when one of us would die.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And the Indians would take us away, but just needed a moment of silence with this music.
You haven't been silent since it started.
I'm starting now.
Okay.
Now, if I was really prepared, I would have had a lovely picture
Yeah.
of the passing.
I think if you're really prepared, you would have had a nice,
A little fade
a
in.
whole in memoriam
oh.
of like clips of all his
Yeah.
greatest roles.
You know,
That's
it's
right.
crazy because
Yeah.
as much as we criticize the in memoriam section every year of the Oscars and who they choose to include or omit or how fast they scroll past certain names that meant more than the ones they decided to focus on,
Yeah.
we truly lost a great thespian
Mm.
and a great just role model and actor.
Oh, yeah.
An upstanding human being that I think surpassed far beyond the silver screen. Mr. James Earl Jones passing away at the age of 93.
Yeah.
Obviously known for his famous role of the voice of Darth Vader, but several others as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Field of Dreams.
Yes.
The old man in Sandlot.
Sandlot.
I have a
Yeah.
fond memory.
Mercer, was it Mr. Mercer? I don't remember for sure.
I can't remember either. That's a sad thing.
It's with an M. I just can't think of the full. But yeah, I mean, well, he was the voice of Mufasa as well. So
Yep.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And and I was going to say, remember.
Yes.
Oh, that's going to hit so different.
Oh, there was a post on
hit so
there was a
different
post
now.
on X with him doing like the behind the scenes of him doing the voice, and it was him doing the "One day the sun will pass on my time," and I was like, "Oh,
wow.
Get you.
And it was
Yeah.
that quote when he's talking to Simba, but I was just like, "Dang."
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, another great work that far too few in Hollywood would ever do and not even recreate, and that was he read through the entirety of the New Testament.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Old Testament it's quite long, so
You can
maybe
get-
he was
yeah.
going to tackle that, but I believe he ran through the entirety of the New Testament. He might have done the whole Bible. I actually may be staying corrected on that. I can't remember if he read through the whole
I
Bible.
can look it
or
up.
not.
I know it's.
I know he's done the New. He definitely did the New Testament.
Yeah.
Because you can get that audio version, and I'm just like, to have one of the greatest voices ever,
Yep.
in radio and TV as long as it's lasted for the last 100 years, but it's like to have something that is carries such.
Yeah. It says King
Is it-
James version, so I'm assuming the whole
it's
Bible.
the whole Bible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I stand
Wow.
corrected. It's
Yeah.
the entirety.
Yeah.
the
And the
entire
King James
Bible.
version. of that.
Yeah, James
Yeah.
Earl Jones reads the Bible, King James version. Yeah, that's awesome.
So you have no excuse if you've
You
never
know,
read
honestly
the Bible.
though, yeah, 17 hours, 15 minutes. That's not. I mean, that's big, but it's still like
Yeah,
it's the
I mean,
Bible. Like that's not a
If you
terrible
look up
listen.
it or
Yeah,
the stand,
yeah, oh, yeah,
I mean, those are
absolutely.
1,500 pages long. I mean, so yeah, it's like, but
Man.
just again, something that wouldn't even be considered in today's
Yeah.
time because of how Hollywood is, and they would remove themselves. But I think of just again the era that this man came from, representing not only just the golden age of Hollywood, but Hollywood when they were worth looking up to or even somewhat admiring, the type of person you could become, and also the work that you could have as far as your portfolio and your legacy. And they're just, again, we've said this time and time again in the last several years, as many of the greats have begun to pass, there just aren't any
I
in
know.
the current generation that are worth, I think, the
Oh,
same
yeah.
gravity as the
There are
ones that we're
no
losing.
James Earl Joneses.
No.
Nope.
No.
So wanted to bring that sad piece of news. Everybody's probably already read it, and it broke. Was it 2 days ago? Was when it first came out, or was it?
I think it was yesterday.
I thought it was
Yeah,
yesterday.
it
It
was
was
yesterday.
yesterday that
yeah,
it broke.
yeah.
So just unfortunate news to hear. I mean, we knew again that he was getting up there in age, and a lot of the greats are.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's almost it's sudden when it happens because you're not thinking about them, and then when it finally comes to pass, you're just like, man, I didn't realize it was going to hit as hard as it did. So rest in peace, Mr. James Earl Jones, and obviously prayers to his family and what they're going through, losing one of the greats. Alrighty, guys, I think we're going to continue now with the show. Of course, we got another great review. We got our good headlines. We got our story time segment tonight. Yeah, I think we're ready to roll into the biggest movie on the block this past week.
What?
talking about franchises and sequels a
Yeah.
lot. Does this one live up to it? I'm going to say the title, but I'm only going to say just the title and not add anything to it. Here is our review of Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Don't say his name 3 times. The ghost with the most is back. And while raising old franchises from the dead isn't always successful for Hollywood, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is conquering the box office and creating positive buzz amongst fans. With Tim Burton returning to direct alongside other original cast and crew members, including composer Danny Elfman and stars Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, and of course the main attraction, Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. With the screenplay from Alfred Gough and Miles Millar, the lead writers on Burton's Netflix series Wednesday, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice delivers a legacy sequel that is the most Burton film we've had since the 90s. Taking place 36 years after the sequel, Lydia and Delia Dietz return to the town of Winter River after the passing of Dietz' patriarch, Charles. Lydia is now a single mother raising her daughter Astrid, played by Jenna Ortega. Lydia's return to Winter River becomes more complicated, however, as Beetlejuice is still keen on marrying Lydia, who may have to turn to him as an unexpected ally. The Beetlejuice sequel is the hardest I've laughed this year outside of Deadpool and Wolverine. And much like that film, it's due to Beetlejuice Beetlejuice being a movie focused on entertaining its fans and honoring the original. With Burton going back to his roots, the film is full of practical effects, including stop-motion creatures and practical makeup. The jokes are macabre and gruesome, but smart. The afterlife's full of the same situational irony present throughout the original film, and Michael Keaton returns to the role of Beetlejuice as if the original only released a few years ago, not 36. Keaton's performance, while fantastic, isn't the only solid role. Ryder and O'Hara both deliver, as does Ortega. Other highlights include Willem Dafoe, Justin Theroux, a well-placed cameo, and Bob. The last two you'll just have to see the movie to understand. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice feels like a solid extension of the original movie, giving us more of a look into the netherworld that feels at home with the first film, while also seeming to take some cues from the animated series. The movie feels like one made for the fans, which shockingly works. Imagine Hollywood actually making a sequel or franchise film for the people who actually made the original a success. Crazy! The movie does suffer from some pacing issues sadly towards the end, balancing a lot of storylines for a movie that's shy of a 2-hour runtime. The plot lines themselves are all solid and fascinating. I was intrigued from start to finish about where each plot point was going, and felt a few just needed a little more time to truly reach their climax. That said, it's off-the-wall macabre comedy in the same vein of the original, and while maybe the storylines could have been tweaked or given more time, it's also good the film gets in and out without overstaying its welcome. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is at the end of the day hilarious and fun all the way through. Sure, maybe some things could be tweaked here or there, but it does justice to the original while being original itself. And most importantly, it entertains. I give Beetlejuice Beetlejuice 3 out of 4 stars.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. 3 out of 4 stars?
Yeah,
For-
I disagree
for-
with IGN.
For a sequel? Who doesn't anymore? IGN has become one of those,
Yeah.
shill
Yeah.
websites where they just peddle out. Well, I don't want to go down a rant. I don't want to get on a rant. But no, I actually, I told y'all walking out of the theater. I agree. I was actually pleasantly surprised by this. Again, I'll be critical and nitpicky when I need to be, especially even a movie like this that I enjoyed when it deserves it. But ultimately, when I walk out of the theater, whether you're a franchise film, or you're a new movie, I will give you leeway if I walked out feeling entertained. And this movie was one of those movies where I actually thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish, and it reminded me not only enough of the original, it was not a carbon copy, which is what I'm more worried about of the original, and yet it had some of the same, grotesque, macabre humor dark humor that Tim Burton was known for and launched, into the stratosphere for. But it didn't wholly depend on that as like a cheap trick. I thought the practical effects, the fact that he went back to that was phenomenal and made it 10 times better than if it were CGI, which is what we get so much today. It actually felt more akin to the original and also more akin to the world he was trying to bring to life with this story. It just in 4K resolution, higher fidelity, they actually nailed it. Yeah. And they got a lot of the set pieces and the set decoration and the costuming and everything. It just landed. But yeah, I was thoroughly entertained. I actually agree with your critique in the review about how, it's not that any of the plots or the subplots were bad. They were just kind of rushed in terms of their climax, and some of them maybe could have...
Like too many.
Yeah, they were just too many.
There were a few too many, but... Yeah.
And it's weird because...
I didn't think any of them were bad. There's just too many to juggle, yeah.
Right. So, but ultimately, yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I gave it 3 out of 4. Sean, what about you?
I agree with the 3. I was also sold coming right out of the theater. There's some movies you go see that it's kind of like... I'm kind of on the fence. I'm undecided. I need to think about it for a little while or even see it again. This was one of those movies where it's like, yeah, you walk out. I enjoyed every second of it. If there was any gripe I have, it would be some of the music in the movie. I thought was, I don't know, there was 2 or 3 songs that were used that I'm just kind of like, I wish they would have went with more obscure songs like the song from the original. I mean, I know they used that at the funeral scene, but the banana boat people song or whatever, like that was so in the 80s when the original came out. That song was like, if you either knew the song or you just completely would have never heard that song until you saw Beetlejuice. And so I wanted more music like that, more stuff that just not anybody's ever heard. And I felt like several of the songs were some of the where they're lip syncing and stuff. I think those songs were good.
I like
in the way that they chose them. There was just a few other music moments that I was just kind of like, I wish they would have went with something not so modern and something just completely obscure.
It was weird. They almost chose the modern ones, I think, for Jenna Ortega's scenes.
Yeah, with the teenagers.
And I didn't mind that only because it did. I agree. It felt jarring, but it felt purposefully jarring in the sense that it was trying to. Again, kind of Tim Burton being a little bit more relevant to, I guess, I don't even know if they're popular or not, or if he picked more obscure, but it sounds like something that would release today.
Yeah.
And if he did that intentionally because his whole point was like, okay, I'm kind of giving a nod to this generation and handing this off to them, and this fits her character and this romance and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so I didn't mind that, but I can understand that critique.
Yeah, that was the really my major gripe was that, and then just too many plots. There was too many things going on at once. I almost feel like if they are going to push forward with possibly a 3rd film and make this a trilogy, some of those plots could have been used for another film altogether. They could have fleshed out some of those things and made a whole nother film. But that was really the only 2 things that I have bad to say about the movie. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it had good heartfelt messages, which I feel like the first movie also does that well in such a weird way, like how you can get a good family message from a movie like this. I have no idea, but Tim Burton was able to do it once and he was able to do it twice. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that it did not go woke in any way, shape, or form, other than the one F-bomb in the movie. It would be perfectly acceptable to take the whole family to see the movie.
And that was the one disappointing thing for me. I just felt like, and again, you all corrected me in the theater because I completely forgot, and maybe because when I saw the original as a kid, I saw it taped off of TV. But I didn't think the original had an F word in it. But it did.
Just one,
And it sucks because even if I use that excuse, I can hear my mom now. She'd be like, well, it didn't need either. It didn't need, either one of them didn't need it. And I would agree. It's like I felt like this one, as comedic as it was, and again, you could even say, well, when the original came out and the people who've grown up, okay, that's fine, but those are excuses. I mean, it is one of those instances where I'm just like nitpicky, but this is a movie that I already think it is on the verge of being a little bit too much for a certain age range.
Yeah,
that I
it's
wouldn't be
gory a little bit more than the first.
But it's odd because I'm like, this is a perfect. It has the perfect amount of being edgy.
Yeah,
that I think is a good way of kind of bringing young adults into the fold of getting more. Because I told Keith, when right before he was recording the review, I was like, to me, I hate the fact that we've now become so desensitized as a society that it's either or. It's either extremely safe and dumbed down and watered down for kids of like they have to be in a bubble and we can't ever let them see anything naughty, or it's the other extreme of like, oh, we're just going to shove it in their face all at once.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, whoa, like, can we not have like a bridging of the gap, like kind of a puberty session, for kids that it's like as you're getting older and you are being confronted with certain things, there's like an easier, slightly,
Oh, I mean, yeah. They used to, like, heck, when Sesame Street used to teach kids about death when Mr. Hooper died, and they, instead of just ignoring it, they actually made an episode about he passed away, and this is what this means, and then you had shared the thing about Secret of Nim and how, someone had defending, which we'll get into this later, but defending Minecraft, the Minecraft movie, someone had said, well, this is made for 6-year-olds, and someone had posted that clip of Secret Nim and said, well, so is this.
Yeah.
And it's like, there is a way to, you don't show them inappropriate things, but there is a way to bridge mature subjects with children.
We
and
talked
get
about
them
it with
ready.
Sean's pick.
Get them ready for real life.
His last pick in the multimedia segment was it that one or the previous one, The American Tale?
Yeah.
And just like
Don Bluth, both of those are Don Bluth.
Yeah.
Nim and American Tale.
So it's like, I mean, there are definitely ways in which you can bring up more, adult themes to children to bring them into adulthood or even young adult status without having to immediately go completely perverted and again, there's things in this I wouldn't say are necessarily for children.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't sit. I mean, again, this is coming from a kid who, whether you sneak and watch it or whether your parents allowed you to, and that's in question. But it's like I watched Halloween when I was like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was on TBS, and they didn't show all the blood and gore, and they blurred certain things out.
Yeah.
But you're not supposed to be watching a horror movie about a serial killer when you're that age.
Well, even the original Beetlejuice got me in trouble because after I saw the movie, like I don't even remember what we were doing, but me and my dad were in a store and we were looking at model cars, and I literally was in the aisle at the store, and I went, nice effing model, and grabbed my junk and honked it and made the honk honk, like made the sound effect and everything. And my dad was just like, what did you just, like, it was, I got lit up.
Yes.
But then I was like, it was in Beetlejuice, and it was like, that was his moment of like, oh, I let you watch that. And didn't monitor what you were watching.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I repeated it because that's what kids do.
But yeah, to me, this one, because you mentioned it was a little bit gorier than the first, which I agree. But it also, I felt like it was a little less crass, like as far as I mean, it had sexual jokes, but the first one like had a lot of like sexual innuendos. And I felt like this one actually had less of that, but it did have more gore, and then they both had the F-bomb. So it's kind of funny. You kind of just trade which. And
I think that the F-bomb thing too, another thing I'd say that bothers me about it is like, if you're gonna use it in a film, use it in a way that not only fits the scene, but if you're gonna make it an iconic line. Because, I mean, I would literally say that F-bomb in the first movie, that's something I've heard people say, it's quoted. I can't even remember what he was saying in this movie when he says
throwaway
it.
line.
Yeah. Now, if the one later in the film that they bleep out, I feel like if they would have left that one in, that would have been a little bit more iconic, because he just says, what the frick? And it's like, but the whatever he said before that, I don't even remember the line at all. I tried to remember it on the way home, honestly, and couldn't remember it.
Made me think of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yes.
And that line, and I'm just like, that was a throw, and even with Chris Pratt,
just
and I'm
open
just
the
like,
effing door, like
it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, it gets a cheap little, it's a cheap laugh.
Yeah.
It's because it's not supposed to be in there that you do laugh. But that's something that you laugh at in the editing room and you say, nah, let's take it out. That's not really, like, we know families are going to come. And that to me is the bigger issue here is like, no, this isn't necessarily marketed as a family film. I think anybody, I mean, they did have a Beetlejuice cartoon, and that definitely over time the original has become much more family oriented. And like you said, one thing I really wasn't shocked by are some of the themes that Tim Burton put in here, because that's kind of Tim Burton's MO. He takes the dark and macabre, but then he adds the heartwarming nature underneath it to kind of showcase, hey, I'm not just some gothic person that doesn't have a soul or doesn't have, any heartfelt feelings. And it kind of makes me think of those who really get into Halloween and they enjoy the festivities, but they don't look at it as like, oh, this is witchcraft and wizardry.
Yep.
It's just like enjoyment of, again, not necessarily the occult, but just having fun with the holiday.
Yeah.
The things that make you go, that
Bump
go bump in the night and that make you jump. But I will say, I'm like, this is just one of those things where, because of what I think it still has attached to it with the family angle, that it would have been better off not having that in there, just for me to have, there's just certain things in terms of content that I'm more willing to allow, I guess, I think would fly under the radar when it comes to some of that would be considered a little bit. I mean, I don't want to spoil too much, but the Soul Sucker thing I thought was great.
Yeah.
The practical effect they used was great.
Oh, yeah.
But when you think about it practically in terms of like when you see it on screen, it's like, oh, that's kind of gross. But it played to good effect because of that. And to me, I'm almost, I would have, been willing to let my nieces and nephews and whatnot, watch that.
Yeah.
But I know that with the language, that's one thing where it's like, nope, that was just always a dividing line of like, no, we're not going to let you hear that kind of language that young.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, because other than that, I think the movie, you could let your kids watch it at your own discretion.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're allowing them to get away with. But any other critiques or thoughts on the film?
I mean, no, not really.
No, it's just an enjoyable.
I mean,
film.
I had a lot of fun watching it.
Very unexpected, because I thought it was going to be okay, but I didn't think it would be as good or even on par with the first film.
Yeah.
I thought, based on some early reviews that I read, that it was just going to be a soulless cash grab, and it ended up not being that at all. And I'm like, I don't know what movie you went and saw, but this...
Some are arguing that. I mean, and here's the funny thing. One other minor nitpick I'll give it, and you did mention like it didn't really go woke, and I would agree. In terms of today's standards, not woke at all. But I will say there's certain things and elements in there that I thought Tim Burton did a good job of adapting based on the time that we're in, without, he makes jabs at it, but he also doesn't make it seem like it's a character flaw.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that, because that, again, that is how you actually, rightfully so, adapt society and social, whether it, and I mean, I'll just give it away. It makes it easier to explain. But like, you have Jenna Ortega's character, who is very much into, saving the planet and being a feminist and climate change. And it's like, that isn't far beyond what I would think of a young person seeing as a cause, because one, they're indoctrinated that way, based on so many parts of our society and culture. But and while you can nitpick that all you want, and he definitely takes his jabs at it, it doesn't inherently make her a bad person. And especially in the way that she reacts, she doesn't sit here and now just hate her parents because of that. Yeah. There's other emotional ties that go deeper that, to me, you don't get anymore with a lot of social messaging in movies and in TV shows. They almost draw the line there as like, oh, they believe in climate change, i.e. they're a good person. And it's like, and that's all you need to know about them. That's it. Yeah. They tout this one mantra, and then that's enough. And that's where I'm like, that's where we've lost and I think part of whether it be IGN or even the reviews that you read, Sean, that's where they get it wrong, is they don't know how to laugh anymore. They can't even look in their own mirror and laugh at themselves, let alone at something that they think is like, again, a moral good. It's like, how could you make fun of that?
Well, one of the things he does do in the film, and I agree with you completely, is he does tackle some of those subjects. So he talks about, he's got the environmentalist thing in there, the feminist thing a little bit. He's got the artsy fartsy thing with with Delia, and there's a lot of different themes like that, but they all have a comedic element to them. Because even Jenna Ortega being the environmentalist and her dad being part of that save the rainforest, that ends up being what kills him. Is the rainforest.
Right. Actually, all the activists in the movie were dead.
Delia is like all about her art, and in the process of making art, her art ends up being her downfall. So it's like all these different things I thought were funny that he brings them up, but then he also shows just kind of like there's the admirable side of, but then there's also the idiotic side.
Oh yeah, no.
And he shows
I
both.
think it goes to show you that the admirable qualities of each of these characters is not that cause that they are fighting for.
Yeah.
It's the human nature aspect of their reaction and interaction with one another. I mean, again, kind of another nitpick. I would again, why I didn't give it 4 stars. Was some of the emotional aspects that I felt like could have done a little bit better to not only breathe, but also not
I'm glad you
drawn
brought that up. Yeah.
so much attention to the comedic aspect. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I don't want to spoil anything,
but
but there's one moment in particular where I thought it was funny, but then as the scene carried on, it didn't carry on long enough, and 2, there was a little comedic element that I was like, okay, we could have done without that right now. This could have been a heartwarming, touching moment.
Yeah, when one character's reunited with another character in the afterlife, I felt like if you hadn't seen that person because you lost that person and now you're getting your chance, I felt like there would be a lot more emotion there.
100%.
It was very
it was like
quick and
it
dull.
was like you ran into a friend from school or something
Yeah.
like
it was
that.
a very brief scene that almost just felt tacked in there.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, again, one of the problem of having so many plot lines is all of the plot lines, without, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's, I felt like, you had
they didn't
so
leave
many
room for any of them to really.
I felt there's so many that they didn't get to flesh each one out as much as they could have. I guess is the best way to say it.
100%.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe he'll pull a Ridley Scott and have a director's cut that's 2 hours longer. I mean, I will say that was the other thing I was thankful for, is that even with the nitpicks we're giving it, more so, the runtime is great.
Was it an hour and 44 or something
hour
like
and
that?
44 minutes,
Yeah.
and the runtime didn't feel too long, didn't feel too short. It felt, as far as a contained movie within the time span that I had attention for, it fulfilled all my expectations and gave me entertainment value that I was like, okay, I don't feel like it missed anything.
Yeah. I could have done with 20 more minutes of the baby.
Definitely.
I could have used some more of that.
Again, that was one aspect, and I told y'all this walking out of the theater. One thing that is criminal in a lot of trailers nowadays, and especially I would agree with you, Sean, even with the song that they borrowed from the first movie.
Yeah.
Even with its rendition, I'm like, okay, are they just forcing this in there as like not only a nod, but how is it going to appear in the movie that it doesn't feel like, okay, you just tacked this on for nostalgia, for a nostalgia fan grab. And I will say, thankfully, that song and then the scene they show the baby in the first time.
Yeah.
That scene there's a scene in the trailer that
the whole
plays
scene's
out
in the trailer.
but at the same
almost.
time, they don't show everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is a perfect example of how you sell a movie, in the sense that after I've seen it, I'm thankful that I'm like, okay, there was more to that scene than just what they showed in the trailer.
Yeah.
And it played out beautifully and actually added to it and was one of the better comedic.
There's a
parts
lot
the
of
film.
it's something Hollywood's very bad about lately is they'll show you like all the best parts in the trailer.
Yep.
And then when you see the movie and you get to the scene from the trailer, like, oh, that was funny in the trailer, and you watch it in the movie, it's like, well, that's it. The whole scene was in the trailer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I hate it. I hate that you go to see a movie and everything that was good about it you already saw, and it's just not worth seeing. So
agreed.
I was thankful that there was a lot more to this movie than just what you see in the trailer. Like I said, really my only gripe was personally, like I had been thinking through it. And even though I do love that element, like you said, the one plot line I felt like really didn't add anything was the ex-wife plot line. Because it just ultimately, if you took her out of the movie, it wouldn't change anything.
It wouldn't.
Because
and it sucks because it was the
was a
one
great
aspect,
idea.
the way they introduced it, and the way you're intrigued by it when it's introduced. You're like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
And it's the most lackluster by the end of the film.
They just, it doesn't really go anywhere without, like, again, I don't want to spoil it, but I was like, it was just one of the things where I was like, I really like that idea. Maybe that was something, like Sean said, they could have saved for a third and picked up on.
The whole third movie being about the ex-wife,
Because, I mean, even in the first film, when he's going to marry Lydia, I mentioned to you too, he pulls the finger out of his pocket with the ring on it, takes the ring off. He's like, she meant nothing to me, and throws the finger. And then in this movie, the last piece that attaches to her is a finger. And I was like, that's kind of a cool little...
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, the very
you
last
just said
piece,
it.
she has a missing like finger.
I remember it
it's
now,
a
but I
ring
just
finger,
I never
and
caught that.
And it connects, and I was like, that was really cool. And then the fact that it didn't really amount to much, I was like, man, that would have made a great...
And again, even like already kind of spoiled it a little bit, but the soul sucking ability, it's like that.
Yeah.
It was a cool
Yeah.
part of the film, and like again, the first, I'd say half of the film, they're definitely building it up as if like she is the main driving.
Yeah.
But other stories get added in and become more developed. That after a while, you're kind of like, I actually care more about where those storylines are going than that one.
No, the storyline with Jenna Ortega and her boyfriend or what have you, I thought was the most compelling to me because it did have the family connection. It was the driving force, I think, between that theme. So I felt like if they had just stuck with that and built it up, and then kind of like that reunion scene we were talking about being the payoff to that and everything, I think it would have been like even more of an emotional movie than it was. But I mean, again, like these are things that we're nitpicking because we did like the movie and we just wish maybe like they could have
been just a tiny bit better. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
but definitely worth a watch. Definitely worth going and seeing. I mean, already, one of our headlines is how well it did at the box office, over 100 million so far, which is fantastic.
Doing well.
It's doing great. Glad to hear it. It seemed like it's funny too because another again praise, but apart from just the movie itself, I told you how weird it is that there are certain movies that it's not just because, like Home Alone is a Christmas movie. Yes, clearly it takes place during Christmas, but also the look and feel of the movie, it nails what Christmas time is in like Americana. And, Hocus Pocus is a movie that it's like, the way the leaves are, that golden brownish hue and falling off the trees and like the everybody running around. I was like, I told you
having
all.
the cool color tones at night so it looks cold out.
Yes.
Crisp out.
And it's like this was one of those movies that for a first time in a long time, because again they actually afforded him, I guess, the budget and he had the creative touch.
Yeah.
It felt like a fall movie.
Yeah.
Like there are scenes in this film where I'm just like, okay, that really does. You brought it up, like when there's Sean, when there's a scene of like a nice zoom and pan in on a tree house and the way the light is hitting through.
Yes.
All
the leaves on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like there are certain things within a movie where when you realize it's set during a certain time, I want to feel like it really is fall or winter. And it just, this felt like a fall movie. And so for it to come out early September and be doing this well, it actually may stay in the theaters long enough that it's there for Halloween season, which is perfect because it fits that tone, and the fact that I think it will feel like a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's just very rare nowadays for some reason, because I think too many people they're churning crap out. They don't really have the time to devote
look at
that
Hocus Pocus
attention to
2
detail.
and how terrible that was. It's like you could have very easily, Warner Brothers could have had something like that with this movie. Like it could have been just like Hocus Pocus 2, which did feel like a cheap cash grab.
I mean, and I hate, because I know it was part of the shtick and it was part of the fun of the second one, but that's what I disliked, even though it was just some Netflix family movie. But Christmas Chronicles 2, it was like it takes place at a beach resort, and I'm like, they make fun of the fact that it's Christmas on a beach, but it's like,
but it's not fun.
It's not fun. I'm just like. The only movie where I've seen that played out really well, and it's because it's at the very beginning of the film, and it's tongue in cheek, and it's just for the opening credits, is Almost Famous.
Yeah,
because they're playing the Chipmunk Christmas theme, and it's Christmas in L.A., and of course, it doesn't snow in L.A.
Yeah.
So like that one, I understand like why he's kind of drawing the attention to the irony, and something like that. I'm just like, no, now you're just it doesn't even feel like a Christmas movie. And so I'm just. It's very odd that just stuck out to me, and that was just another thing that I liked about the film is I was like, oh, this actually feels like a Halloween movie. So go see Beetlejuice. I was making sure y'all didn't say it a third time.
That'll come later.
Probably for the sequel. Alrighty, let's roll into our headlines. Let's get into it. All right, piggybacking.
What?
Off of Beetlejuice.
No.
Well,
I did it.
I think
too late.
The same person has to say it 3 times.
And I guess I said it far enough apart. I don't know. Does that count? They never stipulate a timeline.
They don't.
There's
it's like Gremlins eating after midnight.
Yeah. It's like it's always after.
It's always after midnight
true.
somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It's a weird rule, but I like it. So if he doesn't show up, I guess it didn't work.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to talk about Jenna Ortega. She kind of got into the headlines from some comments that she made about a week or two ago. It was within the last week. She was being interviewed for this movie, and of course brought up the idea that, would she be willing to possibly take on the lead if Tim Burton were to do an Edward Scissorhands remake. And her comments kind of surprised some people because she was like, specifically in reference to something like James Bond, she was like, I don't want female leads to just take over male counterparts. Like, I don't want a Jamie Bond. I want something that is like made for a lead female actress.
Yeah.
And she even commented that there's a lot to be thankful for in terms of lead actresses taking the helm of several different roles. So this is something we've talked about on the show multiple times. We've raised the same kind of sentiment. So I was kind of open that up for discussion is, knowing woke Hollywood and how it is these days, it's kind of a little bit refreshing to have some of these kind of comments made.
Yeah, no, it's always nice to see someone actually say something with common sense. It's like, and
I'm sure she would not agree with us on the political ideological.
Oh no, I'm sure.
No, yeah.
And again, I mean, I don't,
spectrum.
agree to disagree. That's fine. It's like at least you're actually if you could argue something logically, that's great. But I hate the idea, like she said, to have like James Bond, but let's turn it to Jamie Bond, or let's do any male lead. I'm not great at thinking on the top of my head right now, but like she said, there's been so many female leads that were established. Heck, even the original Beetlejuice with Winona Ryder and Catherine O'Hara and Gina Davis. I mean, I'm not saying there were definitely male roles in that too, but they established female roles that carried over for the sequel. We've mentioned in the past with Ripley and Alien. You have Sarah Connor.
I think you were
Terminator.
thinking of J-Law. She was the first female
she was
action
the first
hero.
female action
true.
hero.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And it's like, the funny thing is, Terminator was huge. Alien was huge. Who were the stars of those movies? Women, original characters.
Yeah.
That were completely created for these movies.
I think that's one thing too, just like you mentioned, Aliens and Terminator and things like that, is not only did they start with a female lead, every single one of those films has had. I mean, Ripley is the female lead in most
of them.
Even in Prometheus and what was the
Covenant.
god awful Covenant,
Yeah.
and Romulus,
I mean,
you
female
have
lead.
you have females,
And it
that
doesn't
save the
bother me
day.
because if you're actually, when you make them an actual legitimate character, you don't try to make them Rambo with a wig and lipstick.
True.
When you make them an actual character that behaves as a female would in that situation, because I'm not saying like a woman can't be a badass. Ripley was a badass, but her form of being a
Linda
badass.
Hamilton
also,
would
though-
definitely
Yes,
argue
but-
that she was in Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, she went full
Yeah.
badass
She
in
did.
Terminator 2.
And honestly, I'm like that.
Yeah.
Most of that is James Cameron. I think has like a strong female fetish.
Oh yeah, for
and,
sure.
And I think it's because of his domineering attitude.
He needs a woman that can
He
match
needs someone
that.
that'll
Right,
be like,
yeah.
"Shut up, James."
Catherine Bigelow just couldn't do it.
But
Yeah.
well, that's the funny thing. I think she had that personality, and he couldn't tell her no. And then he was just like, "Well, I'm just going to divorce you." And
Yeah.
he picked that woman from Titanic, who seems like meek and mild.
Yeah, his
She just
ego
walks all over her.
After a while, his ego couldn't take it anymore. He's like, "No, I need someone subservient. Get out
yeah,
of here."
yeah. I only like strong female leads on the screen,
Yeah,
Yeah.
not in my real life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he put Michelle Rodriguez in Avatar as
Oh,
the,
yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
You should
Yes,
see
yeah.
your faces. Gosh, Avatar 1 is terrible.
it is.
Way
But
of Water's actually pretty good.
It is. I like Way of Water, but
And
it's
it's
just
because he
funny.
focused on the family, not just a
Yeah.
strong female lead.
Yeah.
Well, again, when you focus on the story and the characters and the theme, and not just making something, I don't know. It's just that's Hollywood now. Is they go for flashy or for trying to shove a message down your throat, and they're not worried about characterization and themes and actual any depth because they don't even. Most of them I don't think even know how anymore.
Who was the other actor recently? Like when we started talking about this article, there was another one that I shared on the same day that was kind of going against some of the woke ideas in Hollywood. I'd have to go back and
you-
I
look
know
You
we
have to look it
mentioned
up.
Elton John when he had his thing to
No,
say about
this
Trump,
was-
but that wasn't. Yeah, I didn't think that's who you were talking about.
No, and I'm trying to think of specifically. I mean, because there have been a few that have just kind of loosely.
Lately,
I know there was the one. I know exactly what you're talking about. It was a guy,
Yeah. It was
and he was actually specifically talking about. It was like a series, a TV.
You're talking about
it was-
Daniel Craig?
No. It was Matt Smith. It was Matt Smith.
Oh yeah, Matt Smith.
And he was specifically talking about how he's just tired of, it wasn't woke ideology. He didn't put it in those terms because he was talking about House of the Dragon. And he was talking about how there were just certain themes that he was just like, I'm just tired of like this same thing, like kind of beating you over the head. And again, I think you're right, Keith. It's like, was it Matt Smith?
Yeah, it was the Matt Smith article, yeah.
And what was the headline? I forget what he said specifically.
He said, I worry everything is being dumbed down by trigger warnings. Right. Too much policing and policing of the story is a shame and stuff like it. But yeah, he's talking about House of the Dragon.
Too worried about
and again,
offending people or making off check boxes.
So I think my point was you're starting to see more actors in Hollywood who've been, we think of Hollywood and the people that work there as the ones, that are the most woke. And yet I think where there's more and more that are starting to gain voices against it. And it's not just the Rob Schneiders and the Dennis Quaids that are just full on, James Woods that are just full on against it, but even some of the ones that you would completely, like Jenna Ortega, we would probably disagree 100%. Politically and every other way too, probably, but it's like they're starting to wake up, or at least their opinions
see where the culture's
starting.
At. They realize
I don't know if
culture's
it's just I'm going to say what I think people want me to say, or if they truly do believe.
I think
that
they feel more comfortable now. They know it's like I think some of them do believe what they're saying. It's just that before they would never dare say it, but now that they know the culture's starting to shift, they actually feel like, oh, it's safe. I can actually say this now.
Even in this article, it says that Barbara Broccoli, the longtime broccoli.
Broccoli.
I thought it was broccoli.
I think it's broccoli.
I'm going to say broccoli because surely her name's not broccoli.
I'm pretty sure it's broccoli.
Is it really? Yeah. Well, I hope she eats her vegetables.
Barbara Bush.
But yeah, it's like longtime producer of James Bond series has confirmed the character will remain male.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but a year ago or 2 years ago, were we 100% that the character was going to remain male?
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was up in the air.
Because Ana de Armas, she even came out and specifically was just like, she didn't want to see it.
She said that. Yep.
And she was in the last James Bond movie. And I'm just like, when you have... Because I think anybody can see, they can read the tea leaves. I think you're right. I think part of it is cultural movement of feeling more comfortable. But I think it's also, it's been this weird wishy-washy, like, the reason we blame Hollywood as a whole and not on an individual level, because one, we are trying to be, much more generic in our explanation of the problems. Because ultimately there is a body of people who make decisions. I mean, this is why we're in the trouble with the Academy in terms of them stipulating certain, DEI regulations on how you're going to win awards now. And it's like the fact that you're front loading it with all this BS, and there is like an underground voice of kind of people or actors or even below the line credits that are just like, I don't really agree with this, but I got to go along with it because I'm in the union and I these people are part of how I get my paycheck. And I think you do have a little bit of a breakthrough with some people who are just willing to be like, okay, fine. I guess maybe I've gone along with this long enough that I'm either going to be bold enough and brave enough to say it out loud and risk my career, or they just don't care, or they realize that maybe they don't have as much pull or sway, and they're just like, I'll speak my mind, and I know that I could, because I think I am thankful for the people who speak their mind unabashedly, and then when somebody does call them out and try to like pin them in a corner and accuse them of being racist, homophobic, sexist, whatever, they just are like, they double down and they say, I don't care. This is what I think. Because then you're basically expressing like, you can call me and label me whatever you want. It doesn't affect me or my person. And I feel like we are inching a little bit more back towards that kind of society because we've been beaten down for so long and trying to be, suppressed for what we really truly think, that it's just like, are you really a free thinker, or are you being pigeonholed into this one way of thinking and being told if you don't accept that way of thinking, well, then
you're a bad person, you're evil. Yeah.
You need to be ostracized. And I think part of it too is just that there is this sense of like, it is affecting not only the bottom line, but it's reflecting on just poor entertainment. And it's like people are like, after a while, you realize, you're not free to think, you're not free to express yourself, and yet you're in the one medium where you're supposed to be able to. And it's like, if you're feeling restricted by that medium, can you really call it art? and it's like, oh, we have to turn to perverse, degenerative to, demonic type of behavior to be considered edgy and on the cusp of what New Age is, when it's like, no, that's just degeneracy. It's like that there's nothing of value there. You're just perverting what was before. It's like, how is there really anything artistic? So it's like, I give credence to these people who are willing to stand up and say, nah, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon here. I mean, even though Daniel Craig's in this like apparent gay movie, the fact that he was recently asked at a press conference, about Bond being gay, and his literal reaction was just like, he just rolled his eyes. And it's like, because everything has to be funneled through this vision and funneled through this one way of perceiving things. And if you're not on board, well, then you're the enemy. And I think there's enough people around to finally be like, you know what? We've had enough time shoveling this crap and allowing the consumers to make a choice. And guess what? There's enough content out there for them to make a choice, and either they're going to watch it or they're not. And even if you could point to many different examples of people not consuming it and not watching it, there's still plenty out there that they can consume, and there's enough for the people to like. Go enjoy it. You're not fighting up a huge battle anymore or this huge hill to die on. I think that's what people are getting tired of, is every time they turn around, they're being asked these questions, and they're like, is there not enough content for you out there already? Like, why does everything have to fit into this scope now? Why? So I don't know. I think it's a little bit refreshing to hear Ortega speak on that behalf, because she is of, a generation below us.
Yeah, well, she's the upcoming stars of Hollywood amongst one of them. So it's like, it's nice to know that someone going into Hollywood at least has a little bit of logical thinking. I mean,
she's not a total moron like Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
She didn't just completely drink the Kool-Aid, but she's probably drank enough.
I don't know.
Time will tell.
I thought there was going to be a joke there.
There's not.
I thought it was like something was going to tie into her name or something like that. I was like, okay,
nope,
I'm waiting. Waiting for it.
Let's move on.
There it is.
Let's move on to the big headline of the evening, and that is, is Minecraft going to get the Sonic treatment?
No.
Got
they could try.
I've been trying to maintain composure because I clicked on the Reddit link.
Oh yeah,
and I've been reading people's comments.
Yes,
and
they're
really so good.
Yes,
so good.
Well, here I want to read the article. I actually did link to an IGN article, which I almost forbid a lot of times. But I'm going to read through this article.
Yeah.
And hopefully afterwards you can definitely you could share some of the Reddit comments, because I'm sure they're just
Reddit's
gold.
my haunt. I know you're on X all the time, but I love reading the comments on Reddit about
I do too. I think what pisses me off there is like good ones get downvoted if they don't sway a certain way.
Oh yeah,
that's what pisses me off about Reddit, is it's extremely leftist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes,
but there's like certain people that still break through every once in a while. And you get certain trends.
Well, it depends on which board you're on too.
True.
Yeah. So
true. But it just, that's something that kills me about it.
It's sad, because at least X still has free speech.
Right. Alrighty. Let's, not under the guise of being, able to be a forum where you can talk freely. It's like, no, Reddit still has its elitist peeps out there that will downvote crap out. Yeah, they'll send the plague after you.
Absolutely.
All right. Warner Brothers Pictures has shared its first trailer for a Minecraft movie, and fans of the original game series aren't particularly fond of it. The 83-second trailer below gives, obviously we don't have it linked below. You can go find it on YouTube. Gives you the first look at Jack Black as the protagonist Steve, basically Jack Black in a blue shirt, which is true, alongside Jason Momoa as the Garbage Man, and a myriad of Minecraft beasties, including the iconic Creeper, in an unnervingly realistic art style. A post simply titled "Minecraft Movie Looks Like Garbage" currently has 2,000 upvotes on Reddit. And many are sharing their shock and dismay in the comments. I waited 10 years for this crap, asked one. Glad to see we're coming back to the golden era where video games got bad movies which barely touch the game's plot or idea. Which, again, I asked you all before the show. I was like, I don't know what plot
Minecraft has,
supposed to have, but I'd probably be ridiculed because apparently it's got one. The CGI was a main sticking point among fans who struggle to cope with the disconnect between the virtual and live action. Dude, the CGI is ass, said one prompting reply. Nah, the CGI is fine. It's just the people are out of place. Dragon Balls Z322 said on another post, I have to know how the execs thought a live-action cast is in an uncanny valley world made of cubes would look appealing to anyone. I hate the character design of the movie. The moves the moves don't look that bad, but the actors are still real people, and that doesn't fit at all. Other Minecraft fans compared it to the initial Sonic the Hedgehog live-action reveal, which prompted such a mockery online that the film company had to change its design. Cyberbullying saved Sonic. It can save Minecraft too, said, I don't know that user's name, Argonian Code. Already, the Minecraft movie trailer has spawned memes and jokes across social media. And, of course, just a plethora of tons of memes comparing it to the likes of Sonic's terrible first rendition. The Minecraft movie isn't too far away, premiering on April 4th, 2025, so it seems unlikely that Warner Brothers will act on any backlash. For as much as this is a Minecraft film, it's almost definitely targeted at kids. The complaints of fans of the original games, therefore, may not go a long way. Welcome to the world of Minecraft, where creativity doesn't just help you craft, it's essential to one's survival, reads the synopsis. And it has 4 misfits find themselves struggling with ordinary problems when they are suddenly pulled through a mysterious portal into the overworld, a bizarre cubic wonderland that thrives on imagination. Kind of like 4 characters getting pulled into a video game, i.e. Jumanji's remake.
Basically what it is.
Right.
But Minecraft.
Let's talk about it. I mean, do you have any Reddit comments that are particularly that stand out?
Let me go through. So a lot of them have some language.
Yeah, we can bleep that out.
Absolutely.
One of them, and I don't. The trailer was not memorable, so I don't remember. But it says, how did Jason Momoa get a hold of the Tesseract?
Yeah.
And then another person obviously responded and was like, because it's the multiverse and the TVA doesn't destroy branches, so it's a mess.
That's pretty good.
I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, the one I saw said, like, why does Aquaman have the Tesseract?
Why does Aquaman have the Tesseract? Yeah. There's a lot of things on here. Again, some of them have language. Some of them are nerd things that I don't understand.
The real question, though, is, I mean, April 5th, that's so freaking close compared to when these movies...
it was April 1st that it was coming out.
That would have been
just an April Fool's movie. No, we were talking about the plot, and I was thinking to myself, okay, so I didn't think for a second that Angry Birds, the game, could have any kind of a plot worth making a movie out of. But somehow, the Angry Birds movie is not a bad movie. The second one sucks. But the Angry Birds storyline, I'm like, you're taking an iPhone game and turning it into a movie. How in the hell is that going to work? It worked. So I'm not saying that a Minecraft movie, they can't come up with some kind of a plot from that. I don't know anything about the game. I've never touched it.
Sonic.
Don't know anything about it. Sonic, though.
Literally, Sonic is the same way. Like, how in the world, when that, other than the poor design, which is what everybody ribbed it on, we all said, because they were going to have to go back and change it, they were like, it already spells bad writing on the wall. And then we saw it, and we were like, actually,
that's a decent
considering
movie.
It's literally about a blue hedgehog that collects rings and beats on a
Sonic does have a lot
robot.
of lore, though, later on, and they did pull heavily from that. So I'll give it in the games outside of
but lore in so much as it's made for video games that are for kids. I mean, it's not like Lord of the Rings lore.
No, but still, the lore they had was enough.
Minecraft has been around long enough, and there's so many different DLCs for Minecraft and all this kind of stuff.
There's a story mode.
I kind of feel like they'll pull something together, but this plot does sound way too much like Jumanji, and I just don't. If it was an animated film and it was completely animated and it was packaged that way, and that would be, I think that could be good.
Yes.
But having it being these live action people that get thrown into another world of the Minecraft stuff, I think it's going to be hot trash. And it sounds like everybody else does too. I just don't see how that's going to be appealing to anybody. It's not. We've all seen it before.
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing: because Sonic, and we ate our words on that back when they did do the redesign. And granted, the redesign was not cheap. It
Yeah.
cost an entire studio their livelihoods because the studio closed after they did the redesign because they had to rush it in time to get the movie out. So they still met their deadline, but yet they weren't really they didn't recoup the loss of effort from the original design and then the redesign. So I'm like, already with it being that close to a theatrical release for Minecraft, here's the question. In terms of Sonic, we ate our words because they did do the redesign, but then we were pleasantly surprised with what they came up with. Do you think the same thing could happen with Minecraft without the redesign?
The movie just looks so generic and bland, though. I mean, granted, Sonic did too, and we were surprised by that. But I don't know. I don't have faith that this is a Sonic where we're going to go in and be surprised. I mean, with Jack Black as Steve, when you look at the cast, someone pointed it out, and that was actually another Reddit quote that said, "Look at that picture. Every character there is so generic except for Jason Momoa, who doesn't fit in.
He just doesn't fit.
Yeah. It's like he's so bizarre. So it's like it's weird.
Which is Jason Momoa in everything that he's in.
Yeah.
And besides Aquaman, which I feel like, you cast the right guy for that because I think he fits it. But every other, especially family movies that he's been in, that's who he plays. He plays a weird, bombastic, just kind of odd figure that doesn't fit anywhere. That was his
character in the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah,
that's
and
what I was
thinking.
What's that kids movie that just came out like a year ago where he's got the horns and the girl goes into the dream world or whatever? And
the one based off of Little Nemo. What was that called?
It wasn't a bad film, but that's who he looks like. I think he wears a pink jacket in that movie too. So it's like he's the same guy.
Was it called Slumberland?
Slumberland.
Because the original comic is Little Nemo's Adventures in Slumberland.
Yes, so that's what it was called.
But it is funny because I'm like, I think we're all kind of beating around the bush and hitting on the same things as far as like, it's just, this was probably at best a teaser trailer.
Yeah.
And granted, I don't know what more you can add to what Minecraft is. I think that to me is the biggest drawback is Minecraft is not my generation. I get it's being made for kids and obviously like my nieces and nephews' age. It's odd though because Sonic still appealed to their age group, but it also appealed to me and my age group because of growing up with it.
It gave Sonic a popularity boon amongst.
Oh yeah,
like,
my kids love those.
My nieces and nephews love Sonic.
Right, and it's funny, but he is not only Sega's mascot, but he literally has been around since the early 90s and has been on every console, has reinvented himself, even through poor video game experiences. But it's like he's a staple.
He's a Mario.
Yes.
I mean, Sonic and Mario are the two.
Yeah.
They're the
they're the two mascots that have lasted beyond the console wars.
Foundation of consoles.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's like you always tied him to the Sega brand, but Sega brought him into more the mainstream than what others have been able to. And it's not that Minecraft isn't in the mainstream. People know what it is, but nobody knows who Steve is.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who and that's my only thing is there may be nods to the game and maybe things that because heck, even with the Jumanji thing, so much of that was not really nods to the original Jumanji. I mean, there were little throwbacks here and there. But ultimately, it was more so nods to the culture of like video games and
versus board games
and stat. They would pull general knowledge that you would get from a video game experience of level up and now you've unlocked this path, and like they picked generic nomenclature from a video game realm and put it into a movie, and that's how they tied in the nostalgia of it but still made it unique and entertaining because everybody could understand it. With Minecraft, I don't know how they're going to do that because it really is only appealing to the generation that grew up with it, and I hate to say it, as successful and amazingly ridiculously money bags as it is, it's really only been around for 10 years? How long has Minecraft been around?
I don't know.
Maybe a little bit longer.
A little bit longer.
Extremely popular, so I think the name alone is going to draw people to want to see it.
I think kids they'll be like, "Oh, Minecraft, mommy, daddy, take." Like obviously that's what they're banking on.
Kids aren't serious about movies like we are. I think
it's
kids
odd
will go
because
watch
I almost
anything.
see it as like a Five Nights at Freddy's, even though I know Minecraft is way more popular.
Yeah.
But Five Nights at Freddy's got big because kids would watch YouTube Let's Plays of it.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, even that was a Peacock original release. And
It
then
had a theatrical release.
Oh, it did.
We
That's
saw it
right.
in theaters.
Oh, I
Simultaneous,
forgot.
yeah.
It had simultaneous.
But I mean, even that
That's
though
right.
still has like even more. Like it, as simplistic as it is, it has enough of a story and lore there too that you could feasibly make a movie out of that the way they did. Because I mean, that movie very much is the same exact story, just movie. And it's like with like Minecraft again, my ignorance of Minecraft because I get maybe there is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have no idea.
But I was like, what really is the plot of Minecraft? Like,
I think I just need to phone in my niece. And
Yeah,
nephew
let's
and
figure
just
it
ask
out.
them and be like, "Hey,
I can say,
you know, tell us about Minecraft."
launched. Let's see, the full version of Minecraft was released on November 18th, 2011.
So it has been over 10
almost.
years.
Yeah,
It's been 13, 14 years.
yeah.
13 years. So yeah.
but I know Borderlands, and I know the first game all the way. I've played every one of them, and I know a lot of the backstory. I know a lot of these character stories.
Yeah.
The movie is terrible. So it doesn't really matter, even if there is great lore there, they can still make a crap movie about it.
Yep.
And that's what I think Minecraft is going to be. I don't think it's going to get the Sonic treatment. There's nothing anybody's going to say this late to make them change anything about the way it looks or the plot. I think we're seeing a trailer for a really bad movie. I don't think there's any treatment that's going to happen to it. So if that's the question,
yeah,
I'm like,
I would say
no.
we're kind of standing on like that. There is no redeemability here.
No. When Sonic trailer came out, the original, the first trailer,
Yeah.
I thought it looked terrible. The second trailer came out that showed a little bit more of the movie, and I was like,
With the fixed Sonic, yeah.
with the fixed Sonic, but it also showed that there's a plot here. Like he gets pulled into our world, and there's some funny. I was like, this doesn't look that bad. It still looks like a kid's movie,
Yeah.
but this doesn't look that bad. And then when I went and saw it, I was very surprised that it wasn't that bad.
Now, it would be hilarious if it gets the Sonic treatment in a way that, like, not only do they change the animals and look of the Minecraft world, but if they do a full Disney Snow White and replace the live action actors with like square Minecraft people,
They're like,
that would be hilarious.
You all didn't realize we only showed you like they're only like that for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
and
And then they
turn
get
into
transformed.
blocks.
These blocks, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, it would
if
be-
it's like they turn on the light, like I'm like, oh,
Because I will
Who's
say,
making this movie?
I don't know. I'm not
Is it
sure
a-
who the artist or who the studio is.
that's a good point.
I'm not sure exactly who it is.
It's not Disney.
No. I mean, Microsoft's got to be somewhat involved because they own Minecraft. Let's see.
Crap.
Oh wow. Directed by Jared Hess. Which is odd. Oh wow. He did I'm surprised by that. He did Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre, and Gentleman Broncos.
Yeah, I knew that.
And Gentleman Broncos was panned. I still haven't seen it. I thought it had funny parts.
It does have funny parts,
But but I guess it was not well received.
I haven't
but
seen
both
the movie.
Napoleon Dynamite, obviously that's from my
I love
growing
Napoleon
my
Dynamite.
teenage
I love
years.
Nacho Libre. I haven't
Libre
seen
is
Gentleman
funny, too.
Broncos, but I've seen clips online that I thought all of them were hilarious.
I did
so I
too.
do still want to see it.
and that
but-
one's got he's like, oh no, they've got robot deer.
Yes, yes.
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna watch it. I
Warner
still need to
Brothers.
watch it. Warner
Brothers,
Brothers.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I got two.
Distributed by Warner Brothers.
Oh, so who's the
Legendary Pictures.
It's got to be a ton of
Vertigo
different studios.
Entertainment.
Okay, Microsoft probably partnered with Legendary, and then Warner Brothers is going
Okay,
to
it's
distributor it.
Legendary Pictures, Vertigo Entertainment, On the Roam, and
Mojang
Mojang.
Studios.
Mojang Studios
Mojang.
is who owns Minecraft, and Microsoft owns
Yeah.
Mojang.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know. It's not my thing. I'm not going to downplay it because I think that was just a teaser trailer. I'm not interested. I think the backlash is obviously from fans who are just like, okay, I mean, like there was that one comment IGN reference of like, I've been waiting for this for 10 years. I'm like, you were literally waiting for a Minecraft movie like 3 years after it came out. Like, why the hell did you think that was the type of like atmosphere for like, this just screams make a movie?
Yeah.
I'm like, even Mortal Kombat, you could argue, doesn't deserve a movie, and we've got way more of those than we need.
Yeah.
But it's just like, and again, I have an affinity for the 95.
No,
one.
I mean, heck, I could understand someone saying I've been waiting, like when Mortal Kombat the new one came
Yes.
out. If someone said I've been waiting 20 years for this, that would make more sense to me than like, again, who was waiting for a
Wow.
Minecraft movie?
So it says in July of 2015, Warner Brothers had
Petition for
hired.
this?
They had announced that they were going to make a film, and they had hired Rob McElhenney to direct the film.
Who's Rob McElhenney?
That's the dude that
From Always Sunny.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia,
wow.
that owns the football team with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's a funny guy. Probably would have been a better movie if he wrote it.
It says it had a $150 million budget back then. In 2016,
That's crazy.
Early production started on the film. They were set for a 2019 release date. So there's a history
maybe
here.
that's
They've been trying
why
to
the
do this
guy
for a
said
while.
it. Maybe he heard inklings about this and he was
That-
like, I've been waiting.
Yeah.
And it's
Ever
just been in
since
development hell.
2016.
10
Yeah.
years, yeah.
I mean,
That's
I will
crazy.
say this about Jared Hess. I think, again, going back to Napoleon Dynamite and loving that film from growing up. It's all right. We got you on camera just blowing your nose out, though.
That's great.
It's
That's
just-
great.
It's the allergies.
Could you hear it?
Ohio Valley.
Could you hear it?
No, do it again. Right in the mic.
Right by the mic?
Yeah,
Yeah,
by
right
the mic.
into
That means
it.
I got to open my dirty tissue.
Do
I
it.
have to
Just-
Yeah.
I got other tissues.
Just yeah.
Oh, get it
Oh, that's
out
not
of
a
there.
good one.
No, the good one was a minute ago.
Yeah.
He just
You
got
gotta
it
wait
out.
till it builds back up so he can really snot in there.
I'll get it later.
We'll pull a
I got to let this
Titanic.
dry first and then reuse
Yeah.
it.
Really got to
Yeah.
hawk it back.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, that's it. And swallow
Get it.
Hawk to it. Spit on that thing.
She's getting her own podcast. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
she'll have
gonna be
more
great.
viewers than we've ever had.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
now he's taking
Yeah.
drugs over there.
Sure will.
But no, I do think I'm not going to write it off completely. I don't know.
Yeah,
You
we've-
saw
we've-
Jared Hess, and you're like,
we've-
okay, wait
no,
a minute.
no,
learned
I
our
was going to
lesson,
say
though.
it before
Like-
because I haven't seen Gentleman Broncos, but I know Jared Hess. It's like he had a string. Because if you watch Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre, I love them.
Yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
very much a sign of the times that they were in.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And even Napoleon Dynamite, I love it because it still fits my mode of humor. But I can understand how that does not. I still think it's freaking hilarious.
Oh, it is, but it definitely. If you don't have, I can see why some people hate it because
Yes.
if that's not your humor, I get it.
And part of the reason that people do hate it is because they're not funny and they don't have any humor. But again, I also don't have any doubt that it will be family friendly because I think Jared Hess, I mean, he's got that kind of background that he'll make sure it is a family friendly film. So I'm at least kind of a little bit more pleased them going that route and making something that is approachable for kids than to say, I mean, again, I think we also kind of jokingly said before the show, I am a little tired of seeing Jack Black and everything.
Yes.
He has been shoehorned into, whether it was Jumanji, which I was okay
Yeah.
with, and I was even okay with him as Bowser. But the fact that he's in this, the fact that he's, just kind of become the funny fat guy
Yep.
that they've just put, as, approachable by all, shapes and sizes and leagues and bounds. I'm like, I don't know. I'm tired of seeing him everywhere.
He did work with Jared Hess before, and I'm not saying that's
Well,
why
yep.
he was hired. But yeah, maybe Jared Hess just thought he was good for it. I don't
Who
know.
knows? I mean, look, Napoleon Dynamite was lightning in a bottle, and even Nacho Libre was a hit, or it was successful.
I like Napoleon Dynamite more, but I
do
mean,
too.
I did like Nacho Libre.
Yeah.
I'll be doing random crap at home and just be, I am, like just it pops into my head. And I just sing it randomly while I'm doing stuff.
But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna get. It definitely is not going back. They're sticking with the art style they have. They don't have enough time. So we'll see if other trailers drop and if we're more interested. We'll stay tuned. All right, let's move into our final segment of the night, story time.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
Story time. Story time. All right, this is I think a good one.
Lay it on me.
And I came up with this because of an actual story that did happen this week, and I haven't shared it with you all because I wanted to share it on here and get your all's first time reaction.
Ugh.
Our unique weekly storytime segment is one of the worst things that your dog has ever done. And I'll open up the floor.
Oh,
Do you all have
He
a
wants to
story
tell
in
it.
mind?
He wants to go last.
I mean, I can go first. I don't mind. If you all-
I thought you were opening. You meant you're opening up the floor to us. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I have off the top of my head, and I don't know if it's the worst thing. Usually, I would say the worst thing probably would involve poo or vomit, but I can't think of any of those
Yeah.
specifically right now. But I do know one thing that really peeved me off was Ellie, which I have two dogs, Luke, who's a pit bull, Ellie, who is a pug. And Ellie once ate one of my AirPods, which is fine. I mean, I got the AirPod Pros to replace it.
I thought you were going to say you got the AirPod back.
No,
and
no.
I was like,
No, that would have been hilarious. No,
still worked, too.
There was nothing to get back. She didn't
Like
need it
the
whole.
Noise canceling worked better than ever.
There were pieces. Like I found plastic pieces, and I was like, "Oh, you!" I said naughty words.
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
That might be like the worst thing one of them has done.
You kicked her, didn't you?
And the fun,
If you kick that dog, you're going to kill her.
And so I was so mad about that. But typically, it would involve probably some mess that they may have made. There haven't been any recently, thankfully, knock on wood. But I mean, I do remember plenty of instances of having to clean up poop or vomit.
That still occurs.
It happens, especially if they get sick and they can't make it outside and they do something on the floor, and then you're just like, no.
Yep. Sean, what about you?
So, every dog I've ever had has done something to me intentionally that I would say is like the grossest or worst thing. And Keith's right. Usually they involve poo or vomit. Lando has never really, that's my current dog. He's a German Shepherd. He's never really done anything that I couldn't handle in that department. The one thing he has done, and this has been within the last year, I'm not going to name names, but somebody was over our house, had like a group of people from church over the house. A young lady who was on her monthly time left a bloody pad in a garbage can.
No.
And Lando got in that garbage can and got those things out. And so he does what your dog does. He will go through bathroom garbage and get tissues and whatnot
Right.
out. He doesn't shred them
Yeah.
and leave them places.
Yeah,
He
Edie
just
loves that.
He just pulls it out and kind of goes, no, I don't like that, and spits it out and leaves it on the floor somewhere. So he did that with a wet, disgusting maxi pad and left it in the living room floor for me to find. I didn't know that's what it was. So I picked it up with my bare hands.
And then you had to bleach your hands.
And then when I looked at it in my hand, after my fingers had been all up in it, I realized what it was. And that's one. You can ask my wife. Like, we've been married 17 years, and I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. Even when she says it's that time, I'm like, I don't want to know about it. Don't have it. It's a great thing I didn't have daughters, because I would not survive that. I think it's disgusting. So the fact that it wasn't even my
Women
wife's.
are disgusting.
It wasn't even my wife's. It was some random chick from church. And I stuck my fingers in her maxi pad and then had to go put it back in the garbage. I was so grossed out. Like, I almost threw up. My wife's dying laughing because first thing is I brought it to her and was just like, I was like, what? Yeah, I was like, why is this in the garbage can? And she was just like, it's not that time. It's not mine. And I'm like, oh no. So I thought I'd throw that away. Well, then I'm like,
they have to. Yeah,
so
you
this
can't
is
flush them, so
the
you have to put them in the
second part of
garbage.
the story. So the second part of the story, yes. So later that night, we're in the basement having family movie time.
He goes back.
And we're all on the couch. We have this huge couch that the whole family sits on, including the dog. And Lando is sitting with Sawyer, and he's like laying his head on Sawyer's lap and waiting for some popcorn to fall out of the bowl or something. And Sawyer's just like, Dad, Lando stinks.
I bet he did. Yeah.
And I'm just
Smells
like,
like
I'm like,
fish.
he's a dog, but he goes outside and rolls and God knows what. And he was like, it smells really bad. Can you make him get down? So I was like, Lando, buddy, come here. Come here. Your feelings are hurt. He comes over, and when he comes over, his mouth and face smell absolutely terrible.
Oh.
And so I forgot what happened earlier. Like, I mean, I didn't forget it, but it didn't click.
You just wasn't registering
until I
yet.
was just like holding his face up next to mine and
Trying
just
to figure
being
out
like,
why.
like, what stinks on you? And then I remember, oh yeah, you've been munching on vagina gore, and that's what it was. So I'm sitting here smelling. Not only did I stick my finger in this girl's menstruation, I'm smelling it on my dog's face.
In 10 years of doing this show, I don't think we've
It
ever
was
uttered
horrible.
the phrase vagina gore on this show.
It was just like it hit me while I'm sniffing it. I'm just like, oh my god, like as if you couldn't ruin my night anymore.
I thought you were going to say he
No,
vomited up.
no. So I had to go. I actually put the dog in the shower and gave him a bath.
Yeah.
Because of that, but because he smelled like a freaking maxi pad.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This is the most
Nasty.
disgusting thing Lando has done, and it's top of the list. Now, Cooper, he pooped all over the house. He was old, couldn't control his bowels.
Yeah, that just
crapped everywhere, and I slipped and fell in it.
Ooh.
And so there's that one. But yeah, Lando got me with the tampon thing or the pad thing really
Yep.
good. And
Yep.
it was just so gross that it was on his freaking breath.
Yes.
Like he had been in it that long that it
Yep.
had got his breath.
Yep. No,
But
Edie's
Then I
not-
had to go to Sunday school the next
Oh my
day.
gosh. And confront this person.
No, she has no idea. But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I touched your vagina gore. And I can't tell her, obviously.
Why would you?
I wouldn't. I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
it's
like,
just like-
yeah, how can I look at her the same way?
It's just going through your head.
Yeah, it's there.
This is completely off topic. I just want to share it though. I accidentally cut my leg on a piece of fencing yesterday, and like my sister from where like she had lived with me, like they had left like some pads that were just been in my closet ever since. I never threw them out because I thought, hey, maybe
Somebody will need 'em.
Yeah, somebody
Yeah.
will need them. And I didn't have any bandages big enough to cover this.
You
I
put
was
a
like-
maxi pad on your
I wrapped
leg?
it around. I was like, because it was not a bad cut, but enough that it wouldn't.
Was
quit
it a
bleeding.
heavy flow?
And, no, I don't know. I saw these pads in my closet, like my bathroom closet, and I was like, that'll work. And I wrapped that thing around my leg, and that's how I did it because I didn't have any bandages
That's
big
great.
enough.
This
So-
conversation totally went in the direction that I didn't think it was going
You did.
to.
Yeah, you never know.
And I love it. That's what I love about the story time segment, and it's great. I mean, no,
they
mine,
are absorbent. That's all I'm saying.
it did its job. I mean, do you want to like throw out the name brand or
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
have
I don't
wings?
even know.
Maybe they'll sponsor our
I,
show.
I can go home. I can go home and look and let you know the box is still in the closet.
I forget the Talladega Nights one where he like holds up the maxi pads or whatever and does an advertisement for him. I feel like that
Yeah.
would be more akin to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, Edie. No, thankfully,
No maxi pads for you.
no. Thank God she's nobody lives here that would have maxi pads. Y'all start to wonder, yeah, I wouldn't even care if I cut my leg open. I'm like, I'll grab an old shirt and tie it around. And
Yeah,
cut off
like
the
a
flow.
man.
That's right.
Wrap my belt around it. Keith goes for a tampon.
Hey, it was convenient and there.
Hey,
That's
They
right.
save lives. I'm telling you.
It does. But no, Edie. So this happened this past Friday. As you all know, I had to work the morning shift last week, so I have to get up at the fun, great time of 2:30 in the morning.
Gosh.
To let her out, make sure she's fed, and then get dressed and head out about 3:30. So I'm already like, I wake up, get dressed, and I usually let her out before I feed her. And so in the morning, I'm like, I don't have to worry about anybody being out with their dog because it's 2:30 in the morning, everybody's asleep. So I open the door to go ahead and let her out, and immediately I'm just like, it's pitch black outside. I can't see nothing. Well, she trips the light on my back porch, and of course it lights up the whole backyard. Well, then I see immediately as soon as she comes out there, she always jets off anyway, just because she's just hyper. She gets to go outside. But this time she like took off, and I saw something in the kind of a little bit in the distance. My neighbor across the way there, and it's in the ditch line, and I'm like, oh no. It's like there's this cat usually that gets up on my back porch, and it trips my cameras in the middle of the night. And sometimes I'll wake up and it'll be like movement on the back porch cam, and it'll tell me the timestamp, and I'm like, oh, it's too early. I look on there, and sure enough, it's stupid little cat stray that just wanders around, and it sits up there. I'm like, I don't care, it doesn't bother anything. So I'm thinking, oh crap, she's going after this cat, and that cat is about to get like, either she's getting tore up or she's gonna tear it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I see it, and she gets right up to it, and then she stops, and then I'm like, that cat would have it would have scurried off. Like, it would have pounced on her, or just it would have ran off like super quick.
Yeah.
And it starts to waddle away. I'm like, cats don't waddle. Sure enough,
Was it a skunk?
it's a skunk.
I say I've smelt one in the
And
field
I'm like,
over there before.
And so immediately I'm like, oh no. And she's not even going near it now. And now it's like taking its sweet little time to waddle off. It's scared and it's going off towards like through the drainage ditch itself. And thankfully she doesn't chase after it. But I'm like, please did not have gotten sprayed. Please did not have gotten sprayed. So I'm just immediately like, I'm trying to be quiet because she's listening now. She can hear me. So, I'm like, I'm yelling at her and I'm like, get over here now. Come here. And so she comes running. She knows when I yell at her. She knows that voice. So she comes running across my pathway, and I'm thinking, okay, she runs off to the front yard and to do the rest of her business. And of course, as soon as she runs past me, I get a nice big old whiff of it, and I can smell it, and I'm like, it freaking sprayed. So at this point, I'm just like, oh no. I'm like, I've got to be at work in 30 minutes. I can't freaking leave her like
running around
in the house with skunk spray on her.
Yeah.
I can't let it affect her. I can't
Usually
let it affect
that's like
my
almost
house.
impossible to get off
Yeah.
too.
Right. And so I'm just immediately like, I'm like, maybe it didn't spray her fully. So she comes running up to the back door. Of course, like, she's done doing her business, and I'm standing on the bottom step.
Yeah.
And I pull out my phone, and I'm just like, immediately, I'm like, how do you get a skunk smell out of a dog?
I've heard tomato juice. Yeah.
Well, and apparently that's a folk's tale, or a folk tale, a wives' tale.
Yeah.
That does not work.
Okay.
And that actually is from what I've heard from even like my own sister,
Okay.
who has done it with her, and apparently that is not the case.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's because of how tomato juice is like processed now or what, versus how it used to be. But no, all I could read and find was just like, they were like, if you can, they were like, don't let them inside. Give them spray them down outside.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I cannot freaking hose her down out here.
Yeah.
Let alone it's also chilly. I'm like, we're getting into fall, and it was like 50 degrees that morning. I'm like, I can't hose her down, freezing cold out here at 3 a.m. I was like, there's no way. So I literally let her inside. At this point, I've kind of gotten close enough to her that I can smell it on her, but I don't think it was like a direct hit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I think
that's why she
sprayed.
stopped.
That might be, yeah.
Yeah, and I think she stopped, but then she kind of sniffed around it and then pranced through it a little bit, but it didn't directly get on her. So I let her in, and I immediately call her name so she doesn't go into the living room, and I gate off the kitchen.
Yeah.
I go in the living room, I strip down and get completely naked. I go and grab some O boxers from my my dresser.
Yeah.
And then I grab an old towel and I go back in the kitchen and I pick her up, scoop her up, and then take her into the bathroom and like put her in the bathtub and just give her a bath. And like in 15 minutes, like I'm having to scrub her, get her to the Dr. Bronner's comes through.
Hey, that's probably what it was.
Worked.
That's probably what it was.
It worked a little bit. It worked enough.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have worked with a direct hit. But it worked enough that it was like it took it out of her, to where it was bearable. And again, I knew she was going to be in the kitchen the whole day while I was working anyway. Because at this point, I'm just like, I got to put you back in the kitchen. I got to throw my clothes on real quick, finish getting dressed, and like I got to get to work.
Yeah.
So like she air dries anyway. She hates the blow dryer. So I put her in the kitchen, hadn't fed her yet. So I'm like, hey, at least you're miserable, but I'll feed you and I'll make you happy a little bit. Get dressed real quick, and I'm headed out the door. So I'm thinking, hopefully I didn't get it on me. Hopefully I don't smell like skunk.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did. Nobody at work said anything.
Yeah.
I told a few people, and I was just like, hey, if I smell like skunk, just let me know. I'm not going to be offended. But then I get home, and I'm just hoping like I cleaned her off enough. And sure enough, I open that door, and just it hits me in the face.
Wow.
And it just stinks. And I'm talking like it already dissipated from outside, and of course.
Yeah.
But like inside, I'm just like, nope.
It had nowhere to go.
It had nowhere to go, so it just so I'm like, I open up the windows, turn the air off, and just keep the fan on to blow out the house. Put all my like air fresheners on, full blast. Try to get some Febreze going throughout the house. I smelled her face and her the top of her head, and it still kind of smelled skunky. So I just went ahead and scrubbed her head a little bit more with some Dr. B's. And I just basically looked up. And I was just like, they were like, yeah, you just have to let it dissipate. And
Gosh, yeah.
one trick was to leave a bowl of vinegar in every room of the house, and let it. I guess I don't know if it soaks up the smell. But I turned on the box fan in my living room, had all the ceiling fans going. Or in my bedroom, I had ceiling fans going. I had bowls of vinegar laying out. And then I took her on a walk, and I was like, well, I'm going to let you air off, and then I'm going to come back and see how it smells then. And I also went and got this stuff they advertise on TV. It's called Poof.
Poof? Yeah.
I went and got some of that. I sprayed down a bunch of like my furniture. They told me not to spray it directly on her.
The TV commercials, you can spray it right on the dog.
They show that, but I read on the bottle, and specifically on the bottle, they're like, spray it on a microfiber cloth and then wipe them with it.
Okay.
So I did that.
The dude sprays it in his mouth.
Yeah.
In the video, in the commercial.
Yeah, apparently it's non-toxic.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel bad. Okay, to be fair, I sprayed it all over her.
Yeah.
And then I read the bottle. And then I got a microfiber cloth.
That's a man moment right there.
Yeah, you read the directions afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, I hope this won't kill her. Let me read the bottle.
And so after I read the bottle, I was like, oh, come here. And I just started, I wiped her down with a towel then. So she's fine. She's not
She's got
mutated
skin
or
cancer.
nothing.
I guess be glad that she didn't get a full blast because,
I know. Well, and that was the other thing. So when I was reading it, they said the reason you don't let them inside is they said if it was a direct hit, they said if you don't clean it off immediately, it can seep into their skin because it's like an oil.
Yeah.
And they said it will last for about 4 weeks.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, if I had to deal with that for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So let it be known that
That's
now
crazy.
when I open the door, not only do I pay attention next door to see if Brian's got his dogs out.
You make sure the
or
skunk's not
I
over
make
there.
sure there's no daggone skunk. If it's pitch black, I trip the light and look outside to make sure it's not wandering around because I was like, I don't want to have to freaking deal with that
They've
again.
been there every year because I know we've commented, we've gone out and we could smell it across the field. Like, I don't want to get a den or something over there. I don't know.
That's like you could tell if it's like sometimes you're riding on the road and it's like you think it like one's been ran over.
Yeah.
But then other times I'm like sometimes it's just like there was a predator.
Yeah.
And they literally sprayed.
Yeah.
And then like it's just in the area.
Yeah.
And you can smell it's so freaking potent. Yeah. And of course, way more potent when it's like
on your dog.
In your house.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I mean,
in the
opening
house.
that door.
Yeah.
And it just hitting me in the face. I was like, oop, it's not gone. It's still here.
I would have thought maybe the skunk would have thought she was one of them.
Too big.
She's got
black,
the colors. Yeah, she's the pattern.
It might have if she had like walked gingerly up
Yeah,
on it.
but
Of
when
course,
it's like-
she just is like, "What's
Yeah.
that moving?" and takes off. And I'm just like, "Oh, no!
Yeah.
What are you doing?" Yeah. And so of course and I'm looking at her and she's just sheepishly looking at me like, "What do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do?" Yeah. So.
You know, the skunk was
And
just
she's
like,
peed and pooped
is that
in my
Terry?
house, too.
Is that Terry? Oh, that ain't Terry.
That's it. Defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
God.
good times.
That's great, man.
And even then, like, it's not completely gone.
Look at her.
There's a little bit of her that you could still kind of smell.
Do you smell skunky?
She's coming over to put it on you all
I'll
now.
rub your head.
It's like, man, I've been petting you. Now I got to make sure I don't take
I
it
don't
home to my
smell
dog.
it.
See,
Yeah,
and
I
that
don't
was the
smell
thing.
nothing
I
either.
actually did take her over. I went over to my mom and dad's Friday night.
Oh, yeah?
And I took her with me. And this was, of course, after I like let the house air out and then I poofed her. And I was like, I kind of wanted to test. I was afraid they were going to be like, well, don't bring her over here. We don't want it on our furniture.
Yeah.
Which I would have totally understood. But I brought her over there and like she was running around. They were like, she don't smell bad. So I was like, the poof worked.
Yeah.
And honestly,
I've been wanting to try it.
Again, thankfully, it doesn't have a scent either. It's very weird. It has like no scent.
just
It
eliminates
It's
it.
an
neutral- it
eliminator. Yeah,
neutralizes
odor
it.
eliminator or something.
So
It's like that stuff you
yeah.
spray in your toilet bowl, like before you take a poo or whatever, that traps the
Oh,
smell in there.
yeah.
Poopery.
Poopery.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode.
The world
Dogs,
we live in.
you know
I
what?
know. It's amazing.
Here's the thing: you love them because of the love. It's kind of like kids.
Yeah.
You know, you deal with the bad because there's just so much more good.
I just think it's amazing, like the things that we consider problem. Like there's people in other countries getting eaten by lions, and we're like worried about a dog getting sprayed with a skunk.
There's people in other countries eating
cats.
dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well,
that's our
in this
country. Yeah,
So
I'm just like, yeah, the stuff that we worry about and complain about.
First world problems.
That's right.
I'm just, oh crap, not that one, not that one.
Oh no,
I didn't play
It's
it.
over. Oh,
Okay.
woo!
It
Show's
didn't
over.
get it. It didn't get it. All righty, guys. That's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in right there at the bottom of your screen. Like, share, subscribe on all of our favorite social medias. That's right. Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Tweet on X, and Red Moon Pics on Instagram. And, of course, search for Red Moon Productions on both YouTube and Rumble, live on all those platforms every single week. Thank you all so much. There's that old-fashioned way. I almost forgot about it again.
Uh-oh. Don't forget.
I don't want to. Keith?
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Isn't that, just every time you say it, man, I just love it. Email us. Let us know what your dog has done that upset you or made you aggravated.
Yep.
And almost made you want to just kill them or kill yourself, you know? That's probably going to get us banned right there.
Yeah, don't you say those two phrases together? Like
like-
you're just asking
It's
for
like,
it.
well, we just got banned.
yeah.
Bomb, school shooting. Let's just do them all.
Well,
Gosh.
just wait until the end of the show. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you all so much.
Sorry.
I don't want to get canceled. I don't want to get us completely thrown off
right.
YouTube. Alrighty, guys, we're reviewing a great movie. Am I racist?
That would be the one to
That
do
would
it.
And that's
right
it.
there.
That would
That's
give them,
it.
Never
that'd
mind
give
the
them
other
all the
things.
credibility.
We
they
are,
need.
Yes.
we are now done.
We're reviewing Am I Racist next week by Matt Walsh. We're going to see it this Thursday.
Doubling down on it.
Oh, yeah.
Saying his
that's
name,
right.
too.
Oh, my gosh. We're just terrorists. All righty, guys. Until next time.
Terrorists, too.
I'm one of
Let's
your
just talk
hosts,
about assassinations.
Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host.
Vagina gore. Keith Cheatham.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.